Was Gwyneth Paltrow at fault? No. Was Gwyneth Paltrow's fault a cause of Terry Sanderson's harm? Oh, skip that.
There's just no response there.
Okay. Was Terry Sanderson at fault? Yes. Was Terry Sanderson's fault a cause Gwyneth Paltrow's... Did Terry Sanderson's fault cause Gwyneth Paltrow's harm? Yes. Comparative fault. What percent of the fault do you assign to Terry Sanderson? 100%. Damages. What amount fairly compensates Gwyneth Paltrow for economic damages? $1.
Nice.
Signed March 30th, 2023.
There was the big verdict, the overwhelming victory for Gwyneth Paltrow in that ski crash case. So how exactly did the jury get to that result? Well, Court TV legal correspondent Julia Jenaé sat down with Don. Who's Don? Juror number 19, the foreperson of the jury. Here's the interview.
You're wearing the same sweatshirt that you wore yesterday. That stood out to me, the pray more, worry less. I know you mentioned spirituality, very important to you.
I hope it's important to everybody.
And tell me about just how who you are made a difference. You're unique from everyone else on that jury. How did it impact you watching this trial and everything unfold?
It was cool to see how it works, because you know you watch Law and Order and you watch these other things and it's so scripted and so perfect, and then obviously that's not the way this trial went.
What did you think when you realized, okay, she's on the stand? Any impression of her?
You know, the whole experience kind of humanized these celebrities a little bit more for me, because she told a story about going skiing with her dad, and that's what the mountains are about to all those of us who love, you know, skiing and snowboarding and doing what we do. It's just passing that on to your kids and keeping that love going. And so I thought it was really cool that she took so much time off and then was like, hey, I want to teach my kids this, because that was something she connected with her dad. I have kids, and so I hope that connection, you know, someday they'll be up there and say, you know, my dad wiped out right there, or whatever it was, and so they always like to laugh at dad wiping out. And so, but no, it kind of humanized her a little bit more, you know. And so I wasn't the most studious note taker. I don't know if you noticed, I actually didn't write a single.
You seem to keep it all up here.
I didn't write a single thing down, right. And so because I'm more of a try to read people type of a thing, and so that was what I was more interested in, is their body language. I assume she is an Oscar-winning actress and she knows about body language, so she knew what she was doing, and so like that was just, you know, that was all fine, but I was just more interested in his reaction to questions and different things, and so that's where I kind of paid attention to more. And I know that, I don't know if we're not supposed to do that, but that was more interesting to me, because the testimony after the first guy, it was like, well, these are just expert opinions, and so, you know, you'd get reactions from them that you wouldn't get from anybody else. And so that's where I was kind of was more in tune to, was trying to just pay attention to the little things. It's the little things in life that matter.
That is true.
Yep.
So when she was describing this actual crash, the true reason that you all were inside of that courtroom, did it come across as believable that she was the one who was skiing, minding her business, when she felt him come up behind her?
Well, to be honest with you, when she said that, you know, that she didn't know if she was being assaulted for the first little bit, that really kind of hit me a little bit more, because that's a genuine human reaction. I don't know what her past is and what's happened to her in her life, and I hope that she's never had any kind of negative things like that, but you know, that would be a reaction that a real person would have, is like, oh my gosh, what's happening to me? You know, and especially, it kind of made me a little bit, again, it just humanized her a little bit more to me, because, you know, if I don't know anything about anything, but if she was ever, you know, a victim of anything like that, that might be a reaction that people would have. And so that just seemed like a legitimate thing that you might think for a half a second. You know, obviously we're in ski clothes, that's not, you know, what you but that again just kind of made it more real to me that she would say that, you know, that was her initial reaction.
Let's shift to the plaintiff in this case, the one who brought the case against Gwyneth Paltrow. What did you make of him on the stand? Did you get any initial reaction to him even before he took the stand?
Well, again, I was looking at body language a little bit more, and he seemed to really enjoy when people said positive things about me. Every time somebody told him how superior his intellect was, he'd just kind of shake his head like, that's right. And I'm just like, you know, I played a little bit of poker in my life, you know, and so I'm like, okay, you know, he likes to hear praise about himself. And so I was just, you know, I told them when I was selected on the jury pool, they said, they asked me a question, and on my questionnaire they said, if you had a choice between following what you think is right or the law, which one would you follow, or something to that effect? And I said, I'll do what I think is right. I said, you guys arbitrarily apply laws to different people in different ways. I said, so I got to go home and sleep with myself at night, and so I'm going to do what I think is right in my heart. And I said, but I want to be fair and right with everybody. All we want in life is fairness.
Did you think that he came across as having all of the facts as to what happened?
Obviously not, because we voted the way that we did. I thought that I went into it thinking, it was a perfect, there's accidents. People bump into each other and they just kind of fall over, and it was like a no big deal. And to me, she skied down and got a massage, and it was the end of it for her. And so, but he was injured, so he had a right to be a little bit worried about that. But it just, you hear, again, it's the little things. One of his lawyers in closing arguments says, oh, we were talking about how much we could potentially get for this case. I'm like, are you saying that in open court, dude? I'm like, come on, you got to be a better lawyer than this, not dissing on anybody's law degrees or anything. I'm like, you can't say, the first thing we talked about was how much potentially money we could get, and then tell us the entire time it's not about the money. It's like, of course it's about the money, guys. We're not here for Habitat for Humanity.
Let me ask you about the animation.
Okay.
That took me to the slopes.
Okay.
For someone who's not an avid skier, and not really understanding, this is a bandana run. Some people have characterized it as a bunny slope.
Yep.
But what is it really where these two people ended up colliding? How do you think that animation impacted you all as jurors?
Well, it helps kind of visualize it, but the entire time that you were looking at, that you were thinking about it, you were just thinking, okay, well, all the motion is to this side. So she heard her right knee, he heard his right ribs. Obviously, it was going to that side. So who would have been making a dramatic move to go to that side? And so the part that, again, there's little parts of the story that were always like, he's like, oh, when I got blown up and I was looking to make sure this skier was beside me. You're not thinking that while you're getting smacked, You're like, oh, I got to make sure. No, nobody's going to actually think that. You're like survival mode, and so that was the little things are the stuff I was trying to pay attention to.
Great juror. I know why he was the foreperson. Unbelievable. Great job by Julie Jenaé as well in getting that interview and getting some insight and taking us into the jury room. Unbelievable insight there.